Afternoon and welcome to a new Dialogo of Urbisaglia. For now in presence for the first time, and I am Arianna Leonetti of the Catholic University of Milan, and here with me there is Pierfilippo Saviotti of the State University of Milan, and we are now in Jerusalem in Salah Eddin Street at the Educational Bookshop, and we are here with Ahmad Muna and of the Educational Bookshop. And hello, Ahmed.
Hello.
Can you tell us something about your library, something about your bookshop and your history?
Sure. So my name is Ahmad Muna. I'm 31 years old. I am born and raised here in Jerusalem. This bookshop, the Educational Bookshop, started in 1986. It has been going on for 35 years. Now we're up to 36 years. We have 3 branches here in Jerusalem, 2 in Salah Eddin Street and 1 at the American Colony Bookshop. Our first store, our original store, started in 1986, was selling Arabic books and stationery, office supplies, and we then started to import English books. In the early 2003, the place got just a little bit too little for us, so we expanded into the second location where we are today. We opened this store officially in 2009, where we basically imported all of our English books into this bookstore and left our Arabic and stationery, our Arabic books and stationery across the street in our original branch. Here we opened a big space, 3 floors bookshop. We have here on the top floor a coffee shop. It's actually a franchise of Segafredo, which is an Italian coffee. Indeed. And this is a sitting area, also with books surrounding us. The main floor downstairs has the majority of the books. We have about 1,400 titles that talk about Palestine, Israel in the big picture, but also books on translated Arabic literature and various other things like cookbooks, Arabic language books, maps, cookbooks, guidebooks, also some picture books, as we can see here. The general theme in the bookshop is things to do with the Palestine, Israel, but also the rest of the Middle East. And you can find books here in the bookshop that talk about various aspects of this conflict. So, of course, history and politics, but also other things, other minor subtitles, like, for example, prisoners, the wall, the refugees, the legality, UN resolution, UN positions, international politics, and various Arabic literature that was translated either from Arabic or that's actually written in English. On our bottom floor, down, we have a venue, a room where basically when we opened, it was used as a function room for our events. So we hold events now it's difficult with COVID, but hopefully soon enough we will get back to this, where we hold events. We used to do one every month, 1 to 2 every month, sometimes 3 if it's busy, where we invite authors to come in. And we basically know that an author is in town, we invite them, we bring their books, and we do an event that is open for the public. It's free of charge. And the idea is to create a cultural event around books where we invite the locals and the internationals of the city to come and discuss a certain matter, and also provide the books to the audiences, to the people who are attending, and to the people who live in the city. So I guess that's the bookshop in a nutshell.
Yeah, you said something about the books you have, about the subject of the books you have.
Yes.
But we noticed that the most part of the books are in foreign languages. So why is that? Is your audience made mostly of foreign people or local people?
That's a very interesting question. In fact, there's somehow a trend, but also I'll tell you actually the history of books, the languages that we've been selling. So when we opened the bookshop, we were only selling Arabic books, and there was good demand on Arabic books. I'm talking about 80s, early 90s of the last century. Now, in 1993, 1992, with the coming up of the peace negotiation and the Oslo Accord, a lot of internationals started to move into Jerusalem, either to work or to volunteer, or as journalists or diplomats and NGOs. And they started to demand English literature on the conflict. And the English literature that was available back then was very limited. It was available in Israeli bookshops, in Israeli bookstores, and it was also biased to the Israeli story, to the Israeli narrative. A lot of people who came here actually wanted to hear the Palestinian side. There was a limited books, generally speaking, on this, but there was almost none in Palestine. So this is where we stepped in and started to importing these books. And when we imported them, there was a limit. As I'm saying, there were not money. With time, more and more books were published on Israel-Palestine, and more Palestinian writers and international writers who were narrating a Palestinian story were publishing and became available. Some of the books, the famous books, later was translated into other languages like German, like Italian. You can see behind me Italian, Spanish, that we also started to import. So the story is, we started to, with the increase of the English market, the Arabic readers started to decrease. By 2000, they were almost coming up. The failure of the peace process, and after the first Intifada, and coming up to the second Intifada in the early 2000s, there was almost a mistrust in the Arabic readers reading books. They no longer wanted to read books. There was a mistrust in the book itself, in the material, because on one side we were selling books that were talking about the political situation, of prosperity, of liberation, perhaps of some sort of a solution, and out of a sudden that all collapsed. So there was no more trust. Plus, there was a new generation that was not that came up, that was not so much interested in reading. Also, let's not forget, a lot of people went into prison, and it sort of also it affected the market somehow, where they either were not reading, or when they came out, they were no longer interested. On the other side, English books were growing and growing and growing, and which actually led us to get to a time where we opened a bookshop that only had foreign language books, because there were more and more internationals, and there were more and more books, and there were more and more customers coming into the bookshop and demanding books in other languages. Surely people who came here as diplomats and journalists from the West and from the US and from other places around the world did not speak Arabic. And there was just more English literature available for them. And we sort of explored that direction to the end, I think. We're still exploring it, but we really went with it. Up until today, you look at our bookshop 35 years later, and actually we started with Arabic books, but actually today we are a leading bookstore with English books on these topics. Not only English books, but as you said, foreign language books.
But you're talking about foreign people living here.
Indeed, I'm talking about foreign people who are living here, because actually our clientele in this branch specifically is divided into two categories, but actually two categories. I mean, the internationals and also the locals. But I believe we have more internationals walking into this bookshop than locals. We probably are at 65, between 65 and 70%, I would say, we are into the international customers.
But they live here. They are not tourists. So
yes and no. Actually, we have as I said, the journalists who come here every now and then. Of course, they're here for sometimes for 3 years, or sometimes for 2 weeks. But wherever they're here, they're interested in reading about this place or learning something new. There are the people who come here and live for a certain period of time because of their work, either working on a project, or internationals who live here as diplomats and workers. Also, they're here for 3-4 years, and they keep changing. They keep rotating. We keep seeing new faces. So that's a big segment of the customers. But also of these internationals, there's a small part that are tourists. I think with COVID, everything is different. But just before COVID and coming up to COVID, 18, 19, 20, there were, even 2017, there started to be a new segment that have started to come into the bookshop, which is international tourists looking for what we call alternative tourism. Basically, not the traditional tourist who wants to go and take photos with and visit, holy sites and historical places, but rather some sort of tourism that was interested more about the people, about the story, about the culture, about the society. And we're here to learn more, to meet people, to come to these places, to explore places and people and stories. And there were more and more of them coming in recent years. Everything is stopped with COVID again, but 18, 19, 20, we started to see also a new segment of these internationals that didn't exist before, and it was also taking a good part of our clientele. The last part, or the smaller part, is the locals who mostly actually come here to use the space. So we often find people here, if you were here in the shop, who would come to either drink coffee and meet with their friends, but also to study, to work, meet a deadline, write an essay, do their homework. So you often find our local customers actually using the space that we create rather than being book buyers. But also using the coffee shop, because we are also a coffee shop.
So like a public center, a public function of the bookshop.
Yes, indeed. I think we like to define ourselves as a bookshop, but also as a cultural space, a cultural place, a cultural avenue. That's where we do our events, and also a public space for people to come and use for studies, for meetings, because it's a quiet place and provides you in the heart of the city. It's easy to get by. It's easy to stop by. It's an easy location to meet with people. And it's also on your way home from university or on your way home to work. If you want to stop and study or work, it's also convenient. So yeah, we offer this place too.
So I just was thinking about what you said, that just a little segment of people who come here, not local people who come here, are tourists, but they were growing before coronavirus came. But maybe it was better for you if the people who come here was not tourists, because during the coronavirus, I think that it could have been a huge loss for you if your customers were only tourists, right? Have you been closed for a long
Indeed.
time? I saw your activities on Facebook. You made interviews. You interviewed Chomsky, right?
Yes, indeed. We had Chomsky with COVID, and we had Rashid Al-Khaldi also, who's a famous author. I have his book here. So look, the last couple of years have been difficult for everyone, not only us. But of course, as a bookshop, we were affected like every other business in the city, like every other business in the world. We've had 3 lockdowns in Jerusalem, the first wave, the second, and the third. And for 3 times, we were closed for at least 6 weeks, sometimes more in the beginning. And even when we opened the bookshop after the lockdown, in some times we were not allowed to have people come in the store. So we would open, but we'd be selling from the door, or we will be open and selling books, but people were not allowed to sit because this is also a coffee shop. So of course we were hugely affected. We tried to keep our balance. We tried to keep our work going. So we tried to do the events online on Zoom. We did few of them. After a while, also they were successful, but after a while we felt that the whole world is doing things on Zoom, so it kind of got boring. Got overwhelmed. Still, we tried to do it more creative. We tried to bring more than like just one speaker. We did few events. They were good enough. They were successful. And it was a good opportunity for us to start our online store.
That's why we are here. It all started online. And,
yeah, online is taking a huge part of our life.
Yeah.
But we used to sell books when people email us and stuff, and we'd send them abroad. But when we were sitting at home with COVID, we developed platforms, and we know our customers mostly, so we connected with them via social media and with our own page, And when we received new books, even with COVID, we were getting them in our warehouse and we would publicize them. And sometimes we got some customers who would buy from us. So we did deliveries, but that quickly prompted us to think about an proper online store. And this is so few months into COVID, we've had our online store up and running, and we today ship worldwide, anywhere in the world. Our books are available on our website. You can just go, click, buy, and have them sent to you. Now, yes, we were affected still with everything I'm telling you. We were still affected because there was no tourism. Even people who were in the city, either some of them were expats who live here, either were stuck in their home country or they had recommendations not to leave, or they didn't want to mix. So still, we suffered. We didn't have people come in the bookshop, and maybe it's bad. Yes, like our customers. It's not bad, but it's unfortunate that a lot of our customers actually are internationals or tourists, and even the locals. I mean, it's not having local customers in that case also was not a good option, because we're either in lockdown or they were coming in but they can't use the space. It was a difficult time. It was a difficult couple of years. Now, recently, in the last few months, we are starting to see things ease. We're starting to see more people in the bookshop, which is nice. We would like to have more local customers. We have added also, not when we opened, but later, we've added some shelves of Arabic books in our venue downstairs in the bottom floor. So we still sometimes have Arabic readers come in and buy some books. And I mean, don't get me wrong, we sell Arabic books too. It is still a big part of our business. It's just that the bigger part or the main focus is on English books, but we still sell Arabic books. We sell them here in the bottom floor, and in our original branch across the street, we still sell them. So we do have customers. Generally speaking, we have good customers and we have loyal customers, actually, which we thank very much, and we appreciate their support. But in times where people can buy anywhere in the world, when people choose to buy from your online store, it's much appreciated. And because our customers are loyal, they have kept us going through COVID, because actually a lot of businesses went out of business during COVID.
So I wanted to ask you, what's the general situation about reading and bookshops here in Jerusalem and in the Holy Land? What do you think about it?
So what's the situation? I think it's a sad situation. I think, like a lot of places in the world, people who are in the book business are getting out of it somehow. In Jerusalem, growing up in Jerusalem, I remember in this street, for example, there was 4 or 5 bookshops. Today there is 2 bookshops. In the old city of Jerusalem, there used to be more bookshops. Now there's a lot less. It's very rare when we hear that a new bookshop has opened, but it is often we hear this bookshop closed, this bookshop closed this branch, if they had more than one. So I think it's a general unfortunism with books, but also because this is how the world is going. We're spending more time with social media and on our phones and reading in other places than here. So it's a sad situation. I think also what helped the situation is the people. When people don't read, then they don't. Booksellers will not have customers. Eventually, they close, or the new generation come to the bookshop. The bookshop owner, next generation, start to modify and sell other things with the books, and eventually the books leave. Generally speaking, I think there is still a good amount of people who read, but they are different in how they read. I think some people read and they read often. So when they finish one book, they move to the next one. They finish that one, they move to the next one. They always have something to read. They follow. And I think these are not a lot of people, of course, but they are definitely people who are reading, and they are people who are regular customers to many bookshops. And also, I notice that there are people who read when they don't read normally, but they would read a book when they see it everywhere, when everybody's talking about it, when their friends at school, when there are people working with, when they see it on social media, and it's getting more publicity and becoming more famous. We get people who buy it. So, for example, with the Arabic books, I noticed this very quickly because once a book is famous, everybody comes on a daily basis. I get asked about this book 3, 4, 5 times. But this doesn't live for long. It's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks period, it disappears. 6 months later, it comes back again with a different title. But working in the bookshop, I often see a lot of people come back. People, as I said, people who read a book will come back to the next one. Which is a good thing, but I also think it's a little bit dangerous because a lot of the book sales are actually going to a small segment of people. I think there is still bookshops in Jerusalem, and there's bookshops also in West Jerusalem and in the other side of the city, but there is not enough bookshops also because sadly there's not enough readers. We would like, of course, to sell more books to have more customers. And I think this is why we need to be creative. This is why we, for example, when we opened this bookshop, we made sure to make it a little bit different. Having a coffee shop inside the bookshop brings people in. It's more inviting. Sometimes people would come and buy a book because they're in the coffee shop. They didn't mean to buy a book, but they saw it now. Or vice versa also, people come to the bookshop to buy a few books and they want to look at them and so on, so they sit, they drink a coffee. I think ideas like this and new concepts that would bring people into the bookshop are actually very much needed. Of course, they're needed here. They will bring people in, they'll get people more interested about the books. But of course, this is an international thing that should be happening, and it is already happening. I mean, everywhere now I go in Europe specifically, I see coffee shop and bookshop are a good combination. I think also multimedia, music, and things like that would be a good addition. I see some bookshops actually in West Jerusalem. They are selling games, like board games and some games that will make you think for kids. Actually, bring people into the bookshop also. Sadly, because of the current situation of social media dependency, we need to use social media, but we also need to make the bookshop more attractive, especially for the younger generation.
So many thanks to Ahmad
Thank
for
you.
this really, really interesting overview on his bookshop and on the bookshop and reading situation here in Jerusalem and on the Holy Land. So thank you again, Ahmad.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
see you for the next Urbisaglia dialogue, and good evening.
Thank you.